Hey, welcome. Oh my goodness. So we've got Gibbo in the house, Chalet in the house, Queen in the house. Izzy Beaver today came by to say hi, hit that like Maven. So much love, everyone. Good morning, beautiful people. Gibbs in the house, beautiful Queen. Chalet curtsies to the Queen. Maven's late, no points for me today. Oh, only it's only 2 minutes after 9. Yeah, fashionably late so far, Chalet says. That's acceptable. Grab your coffee and your tea. Not a fashion man. There I am. Walked in the door. Frugal's in the house. Okay. So I need to use the restroom. So I think maybe what I can do, let's see. Why don't I play something quick from my own things here? Let's see. That's like something that's 5 minutes or so, right? 2 minutes, 12 minutes. No, we don't want that. 13 seconds, 5 minutes. Oh, traffic. You want to see traffic and my mom? That's 5 minutes. That should be about perfect. Okay, so back over here. Present. Gibbs can entertain us with the comedy routine. There you go. So I'm going to share this. Here you can see traffic and Mumsy in the traffic. Okay, so let's.
Okay. She's interested in seeing all the tuk-tuks and the motorcycles.
Okay.
Hey, watch it. You're going to get me a YouTube strike. Say hello.
Hello. We're on our way home.
And the cars, the motos go through between the cars.
For the last time, we're going to Miriam's. Oh, look how cloudy it is out there.
Very cloudy.
Looks like it
This
wants
is
to rain.
the Tonle Sap River, almost to where it meets the Mekong River. The main part of Phnom Penh's on the right. See underneath. Wow, it's not so busy as far as moto traffic. So in the middle of the street, there's no. Here it is. There was a tuk-tuk that was everyone stuck behind. So now we'll see everybody. Someone walking. I used to have to walk this distance home from the train. I was working at the train station and I didn't have any transportation and I walked home every night. Just looking at the traffic. It's a tuk-tuk, motorcycles. Oh, a guy talking on his phone. Yeah, that's typical in Cambodia. It drives me nuts. Especially they're on a bridge, passing motos. It's like that's so narrow. I never pass anyone. Another tuk-tuk. It's supposed to just be for moto. Oh, there's a bicycle. So tuk-tuks really aren't supposed to be on there. Oh, there's one of the sand dredging boats. It's empty, so it's going back to get more sand. But when they're full, oh my goodness, it's like it's gonna sink.
Now, that was a odd thing. There was a woman driving that.
Tuk-tuk?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that doesn't happen so often.
Yeah. Unusual.
There's a few, but not so many.
Yeah. Well, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. So you got 2 lanes for the cars, and as you can see, you just saw anyway, there's like a motorcycle that went down the middle between the 2 cars. That's frequent. Oh, look at all the motorcycles are kind of coming to a stop on this side. On the other side, they're still going. I usually go on that side because, as you can see, that side's usually
Goes
flowing
faster.
like that, where this side is all stuck.
Look at all the kids.
Huh. Lots of kids.
The pink one.
Those blue and yellow motorcycles are new. More pedestrians. So we are crossing the Japanese bridge into Choi Chungvar area of Phnom Penh. What?
Nothing.
Hmm.
Oh, look at that expensive bike.
Scoopy?
No, the white one there.
Yeah, the white one's a Scoopy. Yeah, they are kind of expensive. And then you've got Zoomers. Some people going through the middle. Those are like $3,000.
Almost back.
The Zoomers. I'll point one out if there is one. Next is kind of a middle range. Honda Dream is like the workhorse. Next, that's I think Suzuki. That's like a cheaper version of my Suzuki address. Oh, we're at 4.5 minutes. We'll see if there's a zoomer, and then we'll close it out.
Take a picture of the Viking if you can see all pretty lights.
And there's a
Amusement park.
a carnival ride type amusement park. I have 2 videos previously made in the Real Cambodia playlist, so that makes it easier to find. There's a zoomer. Did you? Yeah, so you could see that. All right. Say bye, Mom.
Bye. See you later.
Okay. Okay. Woo. I've got my glasses up. Is it? Oh. No, we don't. Wait a minute. There. It was still playing. It started playing my live automatically. And so I was hearing an echo. Okay. No. Don't need to ask, but I will tell you anyway. No, I did not. Okay. So, anyone watching on replay to hear the true crime can fast forward 10 minutes. Just say I'm going to powder my nose next time. I'm going to go powder my nose. Oh, it's so hot. I've got long sleeves on today. Well, it's kind of like see-through. See, it's kind of, but still makes it hot. And my aircon hasn't been on because I was out. I turned it off. I have to catch my breath. Okay. Rush. Okay. So we are going to look at, there's a new Delphi memorandum. It's 27 pages. Yeah, I got the sexy sleeves. See. Oh, it's pretty. It's pretty. See. It's got little jewels on it too, so it sparkles. Yeah, it is. It was hot today. It was muggy. It was muggy today, which made it feel hotter. Sleeves. Yeah, sleeves. Not slaves. So let's see. How does this look if I close that? Maybe put me down there. Okay, we can close the comments. Oh, there you go. Look at that. That's nice and big for you. Okay. So, since this isn't a tab, I'm not going to see your comments as I'm reading, but I'll pop back over and check the comments every now and then. So please comment. So the date, it was filed August 15th. It is a memorandum of law. Oh, let me move my microphone closer. That might help. Memorandum of law in support of admission of evidence of alternative theories of the crime and the third-party perpetrators. So basically, there was a hearing on one of the things that they were discussing was when the prosecution said, we don't want any reference to any third party theory admitted, admissible, cannot be said at all during the trial, right? And so, of course, the defense is fighting against that. They did so in the hearing. And then this is an additional memorandum in support of what they argued during that hearing. All right. So we're going to see, are they telling the truth? Are they full of baloney? Let's look at it. Comes now Richard Allen by counsel and provides this memorandum of law in support of admission of evidence of alternative theories of the crime and third-party perpetrators. Introduction. Mr. Allen has a constitutional right under the 6th and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 13 of the Indiana Constitution to present evidence attacking the credibility of the prosecution's case, undermining the believability of the prosecution's witnesses, identifying third-party suspects, and establishing Mr. Allen's theory of the case. Okay, so they're saying that all of those things are guaranteed in both the United States Constitution and the Indiana Constitution, right? Attack the credibility of the prosecution's case, undermine the believability of the prosecution's witnesses, identify third-party suspects, and establish his theory of the case, all right? This right is the cornerstone of the adversarial process and essential to a fundamentally fair trial. And denial of this right constitutes structural error. Quote, whether rooted directly in the due process clause of the 14th Amendment or in the compulsory process or confrontation clauses of the 6th Amendment, the Constitution guarantees criminal defendants, quote, a meaningful opportunity to present a complete defense. And I'm just going to say they cite case law. Every time they do, because they do it a lot, I'll say they cite the case law. This right is accomplished through the right to offer the testimony of witnesses and to compel their attendance at trial, case law. It is necessary for both the accused and the prosecution to present their version of the facts, quote, to the jury so it may decide where the truth lies, unquote, case law. Just as an accused has the right to confront the prosecution's witnesses for the purpose of challenging their testimony, he has the right to present his own witnesses to establish a defense. This right is a fundamental element of due process of law, case law. When the prosecution seeks to prevent an accused the opportunity to present other versions or possibilities regarding the alleged crime, either through cross-examination or his own witnesses and exhibits, they are urging the trial court to commit not only an evidentiary error, but a constitutional error from which prejudice is presumed, case law. Holding that burden switches to the state to rebut the presumption by showing that the error was harmless beyond a reasonable doubt. Similarly, exclusion of, quote, evidence tending to show that someone other than the accused committed the charged crime, unquote, is, quote, inconsistent with substantial justice and therefore cannot be deemed harmless error. Okay, case law. Let me check your comments. Oh, gosh, you guys have been busy. Lemonade. Let me go back. Okay, here we go. Frugal says, with the sun here, we become slaves to out sleeves when the UV index is at an 11, especially. Yeah. It's hot, but it's going to be 74. Oh, that's nice. 74 is nice. 90 to 74 at night, 90 in the day. That's good weather. Of course, 90 with humidity can feel really hot. Chalet says, we have been having heat index warnings, but not today. Oh, yeah, Gibbo says, motion in lemonade. I think a lot of the YouTubers, Melanie Little and such, they like to say motion in lemonade instead of lemonade. Frugal says it was 95 Fahrenheit, but feels like 110 here today. Yuck. And if it was like that in Siem Reap, it was probably similar here in Phnom Penh. Yeah, it felt hot. Chalet says some refreshing lemonade sounds good. You either need to be in the water or in the air conditioning. Yeah, both if you're lucky. air conditioned pool. Yeah. Gibbo says my sister makes American lemonade. She gets mad. I keep turning up with stuff like bags of lemons. Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know, British lemonade has soda in it, so it's carbonated. Yeah. Chalet says, hey, bring on the lemons. Yeah, they're good for you too. Chalet says it will cure that urinary tract infection you have, Gibbs. Fergal says the problem here is that the electricity is very expensive, so we tend to find creative ways to stay cool. I usually go out for a coffee and sit in a cafe for the afternoon, sipping on calamansi tea. Chalet says, oh man, that's what you got to do, Frugal. That's why you're always in a cafe. And Frugal adds, that's why I'm addicted to coffee and iced tea. Gibbo says, you'll find me in the bar. Chalet says, shiny, happy people are at the bar. Shiny, happy people. Gibbo says, wait, I have a pee-pee infection? Chalet said, LOL, dang it. I thought maybe so. Maybe you will not because of Jumanji. Snow's in the house. Welcome, Snow. Maybe the Matrix. Okay, so let's continue. Thus, the question becomes, what type of evidence is so critical and unique to Mr. Allen's defense that the U.S. and Indiana constitutions, above and beyond the Indiana rules of evidence, require its admission? The Indiana courts have answered that question by reversing cases when the excluded evidence challenged the credibility of the state's investigation and witnesses, presented an alternative, exculpatory explanation of the state's evidence, or showed that someone else could have committed the crime. Okay, so anytime those things happen, the Indiana courts reverse the case. So if you know that's what's going to happen by not allowing Richard Allen's defense, then why would you bother doing that? At the hearing on the prosecution's motion in limine, Mr. Allen presented evidence that the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German have ties to Odinism and were ritualistic. Mr. Allen also presented evidence that third parties are linked to the murders. The prosecution seeks to exclude evidence of third-party motive that is not relevant and or the probative value is outweighed by unfair prejudice, confusion of the issues, or has the potential to mislead the jury in violation of Rule 401. The prosecution further requests an order to exclude testimony or evidence concerning A, Odinism, B, cult or ritualistic killing, C, Brad Holder, D, Patrick Westfall, E, Johnny Messer, F, Elvis Fields, G, Ned Smith, H, Rod Abrams, I, Kagan Klein, J, Jerry Anthony Klein, K, Ron Logan. It's 11 things. The prosecution's requests seek to limit Mr. Allen's ability to present a defense and, if granted, violate Mr. Allen's rights pursuant to the 6th and 14th Amendments to the Constitution and the Indiana Constitution to confront and cross-examine witnesses and to present his defense. Number one. So let me check. Oh, Snow's son turned 22 yesterday. You're old now. Well, happy birthday to your son. Serious, not serious, shorts. Quick while Maven's not looking. Okay. 22 is a great number. Hard to tell with all those wild filters. Oh, Chalet. Okay. Gibbo. Oh, Frugal, trying to revive the war versus America and Asia. When your kid is 42, you are allowed to feel old. It would be boring without the filters. Yeah, for Chalet's videos. You have many personalities. Gibbo, what about when they turn 12, Frugal? Your son's birthday is on my husband's birthday. He wishes he was 22. All right. Well, I'm glad you guys are having fun in the chat. Number 1, Mr. Allen is entitled to present evidence pursuant to the 6th and 14th, according, yeah. Oh, I'll go in. She just changed the sheets today or yesterday, and then the cat peed on it. I get home and I see cat pee. So she changed the sheets for me again. Poor thing. All right. Constitution, right? So let me just say it this way. Mr. Allen is entitled to present evidence pursuant to the constitutions that the crime has elements of Odinism and ritualistic killings. The constitutions demand that the jury hear all versions and possibilities regarding the alleged crime. Well, that's pretty blunt. Case law holding it was a constitutional violation to prohibit the defendant from introducing a suicide note near the body and allowing the state to introduce a death certificate stating homicide. So it was a violation of the Constitution to prohibit a defendant from introducing that there was a note near a body. And they allowed the state to introduce the death as a homicide. So basically the defense was that maybe it wasn't a homicide, but that it really was a suicide. The state cannot take advantage of the inculpatory conclusion, but prohibit the defendant from placing the exculpatory conclusion before the jury. Holding otherwise inadmissible evidence that third party previously molested the victim was admissible as an alternative explanation for the victim's injuries. In this case, the prosecution argues that Richard Allen, acting alone, killed Abigail Williams and Liberty German. However, the evidence from the location where the bodies were found strongly suggests that more than one person was responsible for these murders. Former Indiana State Police Detective Kevin Murphy testified that it was always the belief of law enforcement that there were between 2 to 6 people involved in the murders. If the prosecution's argument is that Richard Allen acted alone, and there are alternative theories that the murders were committed by more than one person, then who are the additional people involved in killing Abigail Williams and Liberty German? The answer is that there are third-party suspects who have not been charged and who have no ties to Richard Allen. This leads to the conclusion that Richard Allen is innocent and that other individuals acting together killed the girls. Well, I certainly see no problem with the defense deciding that's their defense, and they would need to show evidence that they have that makes them think so. You can't just say it. You can say it in your opening argument, but then you got nothing to back it up. Well, but if you've got something to back it up, then it should be presented and the jury should decide who they believe. Isn't that the way it's always been? Let me see what you guys are saying. Chalet Leo. Okay, birthday stuff. Snow says they will be hard pressed to convict on Odinism. Yes, it would be hard to convict Richard Allen on Odinism, but the conviction would not have any. It's the defense that wants to say that Odinist did it. They don't have to prove. They're not trying to prosecute anybody else. It's not their job to prosecute anyone else. It's just their job to make reasonable doubt. Chalet, the Leo ladies, I know they are very nice. Okay, Gibbo, the issue with this is they only had hearsay at the hearings. They only had hearsay. The hearings were really bad for the defense. They are going to continue and attack Gull again. And Gull's the judge, for anyone who doesn't know. Chalet saying Leos are beautiful souls. If it looks like Odinism and walks like Odinism, yeah, Or, and I will put this out there as well, if it wasn't real Odinists, it could have been somebody trying to make it look like the Odinists, right? But would that somebody trying to frame Odinists be Richard Allen or somebody else? Gibbo says Kevin Murphy was forced to retire for falsifying statements. Okay. I didn't know that. But I do know that he retired right after what's his name got shot. Snow. Well, I certainly hope they manage to exculpate him. Yeah. I think we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think there's definitely a lot of exculpatory evidence. I don't say that necessarily means that Brad Holder or anybody like that they're the ones that did it. I think there are other possibilities as well. There's a lot of possibilities, but I kind of agree that one person. I don't think one person alone. I don't think the evidence of the crime scene that we know of leads towards one person, whoever the other people are. They might have the wrong other people. They might be putting the fingers at the wrong other people. It doesn't mean there's not other people, Or was Richard Allen involved with other people? But to say he did it alone, I think that was a bad move on the prosecution's case on their side. Allen, Gibbo says Allen admitted he placed the bodies in a rush. Chalet said, if he's not guilty, I pray he's freed. Sure. If he's not, yep. And if he is, lock him away forever, but I think that he does have a right to have a defense, which is kind of what is at issue here. Gibbo, it needs to be admissible though, because all they have is hearsay. Well, that's interesting. I mean, because for example, Elvis Field saying that he spit on the girls to, saying things to his sister or someone's girlfriend and also to an officer, right? We don't have Elvis Fields himself saying what he said. But I think that there's some kind of, when it's law enforcement, so like if you put the sister on the stand and said, Elvis told me this, well, that's hearsay, and that we're not hearing it directly from Elvis. But I think there's, at least in some states, there's a difference if it's a law enforcement officer saying somebody said this to me, then I think they are allowed to testify what they heard directly because they're law enforcement. And so they're held to like a higher standard. So you're able, but not if it's like somebody came to, like the sister, let's say the sister came to me and said that Elvis said this, well, then it becomes hearsay for the officer. But if the Elvis told an officer directly, I think the officer could testify, but not the sister. That would be hearsay, right? I believe. I'm not a lawyer. You want lawyer stuff? You go to one of the other channels. There's great lawyers that follow this. Yeah, but you're saying he admitted the bodies in a rush, Gibbo. But from my understanding, he also admitted that he shot them and that he sexually assaulted them. Right? So what part? So either he's lying for some, and he's confessing for some other reason, or he's telling the truth. But if he's telling the truth, then not everything lines up with the evidence, right? Because the girls weren't shot. Snow, from what I remember, the Odinists right from the start took responsibility for those two little girls. Let them have it. Yeah, I do not know that. Snow says they owe that man so much because they tortured him in prison. He looks like Tommy Robinson. He's so broken. I do believe he was tortured. There was no reason he should have ever been put in prison. He should have been in jail. And if they needed to move him to a different jail, how many county jails are there in Indiana? They didn't need to move him to a prison. Frugal, I have absolutely no clue what this case is even about. I'm just here to hang out with you all and possibly learn something new. Did you not watch last night? Didn't I give all the background and everything last night? What Elvis said is hearsay unless they found his DNA, which they didn't. Did they test any DNA? Is what I'm wondering. If they saw what looked like spit on one of the, if somebody hawks a loogie, it's going to look like spit, right? Did they even swab some spit? Was there no spit? Was there spit? If there was spit, was it swabbed? If it was swabbed, was it sent in for DNA? Because I don't know. I think there's a lot of times where if we look at a whole of what the law enforcement, not the prosecution gets the case after law enforcement, and things that happened with law enforcement and their interviews and recordings or not recordings and video or not video and notes or not notes, and it just seems like maybe they're not being as thorough as they could be, right? So I'm out on that one as far on Elvis's DNA, because if they found spit and they tested spit and that spit is not Elvis's DNA, does not match, that's one thing. But are they saying they didn't find any of Elvis's DNA, but it's like in the Karen Reed case when they say, oh, well, there was no dog saliva, but all they did was like run a swab over they didn't go to a hole and go like this in the hole. They just went like this over the top. Gibbo, nope, that came from the inmate's Chinese whispers. All of Alan's confessions has details of the crime. Gibbo, do you have access to his confessions, like a transcript of his confessions? Snow, he was under extreme duress by the corrupt law officers to make a false concession just to escape the torture. That is very possible, Snow. Chalet, yes, he said he's learning. Yeah, Frugal, you did explain it all the other day. I just haven't been following it other than my stream. Right, okay. So I did in 1 hour, hour and a half, kind of lay out the basics. And we're probably able to talk about more detail. I didn't mention the confessions. There was 60 confessions, and there's a whole lot. Yeah. There's a lot of details that it would have been like a 5-hour show, I think, if we tried to cover everything that's ever happened in this case, since 2017. There's a lot of people that got, I mentioned Kevin Kline, but there were other people who were investigated. Gibbo says, well, he and all of the Odinites have solid alibis backed by witnesses and phone pings, and only one man was seen in the area matching Alan's own description. Gibbo, you are 100% correct with that. As it regards to the two, let's say 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. window. That is 100% correct for the 2 to 4 p.m. window, which means Brad Holder or whatever, maybe he was not the one that abducted the girls, right? But I challenge, I don't have any proof that says that is the window that they were murdered. Okay, I don't have any proof of that. And until I have proof of that, or something that excludes a 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. time, then then those, you need to give me alibis for both time periods in order for me to say, okay, that person could not have done it. You only give me an alibi for one time period, it's not enough for me. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying it's not enough to prove it for me. I would have doubt. Okay, if I was sitting on a jury and you only told me that they have an alibi from 2 to 4 p.m., then right away I have doubt because you haven't given me an alibi for the other time, just in case, because we don't know what time they were killed. Snow, good question, Gibbo. Do you? Says Gibbo. An officer was at the hearing and talked about the 100 plus confessions, 61 with details, and 40 just saying he did it. Okay. Thank you for correction on the number. Gibbo says an expert forensic officer stated Abby never left the spot she was found due to the phone, and they estimated her time of death was between 2 and 3 when Alan was seen leaving. Okay, so there's a forensic officer that says that. Of course, the prosecution is going to have somebody support their theory. You know, I don't know how expert this forensic officer is, but again, if I look at Karen Reed's trial, we have Officer Joe Paul, who was supposed to be the reconstruction expert, and the fiasco that was. Just because the police are testifying and saying that, of course, they're going to support they're going to have things, some kind of evidence or opinions to support what they believe their case is. 100%, they will have that. But how accurate is it? I don't know. I can't make a determination on how. On that, what did they base that on? You say due to the phone, but the only phone they had, I mean, you're talking Libby's phone, right? Did Abby have a phone with her? So no, yeah, it's the job of the defense and thus the job of the convicted and accused to prove the law officers wrong. And 85% of the time they are very wrong. You know. So two people can look at the same evidence and come to a different conclusion from that same evidence, right? One person can say, well, it happened, this point happened because of this. Someone else can say this point happened because of that. The phone was found under Abby, right? Correct. Like in Libby's shoe or under the shoe. Libby's shoe was under Abby, and the phone was either in or under the shoe. But how does that say? So I genuinely want to know how does the fact that the phone was found under Abby mean that she never left the spot? It wasn't even her phone. Somebody put the phone under her. So sure, Abby could have been there the whole time and never moved. I don't understand how the phone being under her proves that, is what I'm saying. If that makes sense. Because it's just as plausible that Abby was placed there and the phone was placed under her. It's just as plausible. Yeah, Snow, Gibbo, do you have a transcript of his confession? You know, exactly. If I'm a juror, I would expect that I'm going to be given that, and I can look over those confessions and I can read them and I can see exactly if it makes sense to me or not just what someone's telling me the confessions say. Gibbo says, because the phone was at the crime scene until 5:30, it stopped moving at 2:30. Correct. Or was turned off at 2:30. You know, you're saying that it stopped moving, but it was still on until 5:30. 5:30 or 5:44 was the last ping. That's true. So No transcript, but you knew know people that were there. You raised $750 to get the transcripts and waiting on them. Transcripts of the hearing. Did they actually read his confessions during the hearing? Okay, I'm going to keep going with this document. Dr. Don Perlmutter, the director of Symbol Intelligence Group and adjunct professor of forensic medicine at the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, and who trains federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies, testified that the murders were committed by individuals with ties to racist Odinism, sometimes also known as Asatru. I think Asatru is also bigger. I'm not sure if Asatru is always racist. I think the Odinism tends to be racist, but I'm not sure Asatru is always racist. But anyway, Odinism and Asatru are polytheistic ideologies. Odinism and Asatru are polytheistic ideologies involving the worship of Nordic pagan gods. Correct. Including Odin and Thor. Correct. These ideologies are nature-based ideologies, and their rituals generally take place outdoors, incorporate natural elements, and are typically performed near natural bodies of water. Correct. Both ideologies incorporate the use of runes, which are marks of mysterious or magical powers. Runes take on additional magic powers when charged by blood, or when two or more single runes are coupled together to create a bind rune. This is kind of what I was talking about in that other one when I said, here's a picture of different runes, and here's an example of more than one rune like on top of each other. I didn't realize they were called bind runes. Okay. Both ideologies also incorporate magical thinking. Dr. Perlmutter further testified that while Odinists have general shared symbols, such as Odin's hammer, as they splinter off and form different kindreds, they often develop their own symbols and rituals. Social media has been a large part of this development, as it allows individuals access to a wide range of interpretations, symbols, and ideas relating to Asatru and Odinism. Dr. Perlmutter testified that the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German meet all the elements of a ritualistic killing and was a textbook ritualistic killing. The elements of a ritualistic killing include, and so before we jump into that, let me see what you're saying. Gibbo, yes. No, they will be at trial. Couldn't be played due to defense arguing to suppress them. My guess is they will be played on the 23rd. They have a private hearing and a public one later that day. Okay, the confessions. Gibbo, Allen admitted to placing the sticks on to cover them, but left in a panic. That's what I meant earlier. Okay, so the only thing that let's play devil's advocate to you, Gibbo, is when he started making the confessions, were they, like some of them may have been before they received particular discovery. And so what did he or did he not know? At what time? Like, did his confessions include more details after he had more discovery? Right? I would be interested, like as a juror wanting to find out the truth. I would want to know that. At what date did he get the discovery with details? How many of the confessions before that had what particular information, and how many confessions after that had particular information? Right. Because I don't think, I know it wasn't, I know that the sticks and the arrangement of the bodies and things like that was not made public. Okay, until the Frank's memo. Then we all learned about it. But if you actually lived in Delphi And let's say, obviously, for example, the searchers that found the bodies know about the sticks. Even if they didn't recognize it as runes, they would know that there were sticks, right? Etc. You know, I mean, so is there, how many law enforcement obviously knew? Did any of law enforcement tell their wives or whatever, you know, or husbands? Like within the local community, how many people knew that there were sticks, for example? Doctor permitted, yeah, the lady is an art expert. She was shredded apart on the stand. Okay. Allen wouldn't have discovery in his cell. Of course, not in his cell, only with his lawyers, because of the nature and the defense wasn't visiting him. Okay. Dr. Walla said his mental health declined after his family cut him off. Allen told them he found God and wanted to confess so he could be with them in the afterlife, afterlife. Okay. So let's see what Dr. Perlmutter says is a ritualistic killing. Number 1, the location of the crime. It's a she, right? What? Dr. Perlmutter, Dawn Perlmutter. I'm going to say that's a she, because I don't want to keep saying her name. She testified that Odinism and Asatru are nature-based ideologies. These murders took place outdoors, in a clearing, in a wooded area, near a body of water. She testified that in Odinism and Asatru, clearings can be the location of a sacred circle where rituals and sacrifices take place. She further testified that it is important that the murders took place near a body of water, as water is often used for purification prior to the rituals or sacrifices. Hey, baby, stop it. The date of the death. She testified that often rituals and sacrifices take place on important dates. She testified that Valisblot is a sacrificial feast day honoring Odin's son, Valis. This begins at sundown on February 13 and ends at sunup on February 14. They disappeared on the 13th and were found on the 14th. Mm-hmm. Okay, I did not know that was actually a sacrificial feast day. Cause of death. She testified that ritualistic crimes are most often committed by sharp force injury to the neck, and that slitting the throat is indicative of sacrifice and an initiation ritual. They were both killed in that manner. And then the defendant has an exhibit of autopsy reports. Number 4, the murder weapon. She testified that ritualistic crimes are often committed with ceremonial knives. The weapon used to kill the girls was a knife. Again, there's a defense exhibit of autopsy reports. Not of the girls, but of somebody named Roland Kaur. Symbols at the crime scene. She testified that in ritualistic killings, symbols, including runes, are often left at the scene. In this instance, there is what can be interpreted as a Laguz rune, painted or transferred to a tree with Liberty German's blood. That was DNA tested. It is her blood. This tree is located near the area where the girls' bodies were ultimately found, on the edge of the clearing. Additionally, she testified that the sticks and the branches laid on the bodies appeared deliberately and intentionally placed in particular arrangements that would have meaning to the individuals committing the crime. FBI Special Agent Nicole Robertson testified that when she was searching the home of Ron Logan, she was looking for evidence of runes and anything Nordic due to the placement of sticks on the girls' bodies. It gives a reference. The emails between FBI and State Police Superintendent Doug Carter all provide evidence of the belief by law enforcement that the evidence left behind at the crime scene, including the sticks found on the girls, supported the possibility that the killers were Norse paganists. Okay, so I'm going to take a moment here and check out. Let's see. Left off with Gibbo. She stated Allen asked to call his wife and said to her, "If this is too much for you, I will tell detectives everything." That is when his mental health declined. Okay. Snow. Asatru is not racist at all. They are anti-Christianity. Gibbo. Yeah, it's a woman. Not sure. Okay. Oh, me saying that this person, this Dr. Perlmutter or whatever is a woman. Okay. Chalet says, "What's this about afternoon delight?" Afternoon delight, Captain and Tennille. Okay, Gibbo, it's not, that's where the doctor was ripped to shreds. Okay, part on the ritualistic killing. That's where she was ripped to shreds. Snow, I was distracted. She was attracted to this case because of its relation to Odinism. That's how I started talking about Delphi and learned of the Idaho 4 stuff. Yeah. Great of Vali, the sun, Vali, the feast. Great of Vali, the son of Odin. Excellent. Thank you, Snow. All right. So number 6, body disposition. Dr. Perlmutter testified that in ritualistic killings, bodies are often moved and positioned in a fashion that is not a counter-forensic measure. In other words, that the bodies are moved and positioned in a manner not consistent with someone who is trying to conceal the bodies. She further testified that bodies are often positioned to include the arrangement of natural objects. In paragraph 6 of her affidavit for probable cause search warrant for the home of Ron Logan, Nicole Robertson, FBI agent, testified it was her belief that the girls' bodies had been moved and staged. Major Cicero of the LaPorte County Sheriff's Department also testified at the hearing that Liberty German's body was as in dragged around the crime scene, and that Abby's was moved from side to side. Well, see, that for me is like new information because I thought that there were no drag marks. At least, I guess there were no drag marks like from the river to where they were. As if they had been in the river and then brought up to this place, they were not dragged. Like if one person was bringing them a lot, I mean, whether they were alive or already dead, anyway, there were no drag marks from the river to the place. But I guess within the area itself, there was some evidence of dragging, according to this. Abigail's was moved from side to side, and Liberty's was dragged around the crime scene. Additionally, it is evident from the crime scene photo identified as Exhibit FF that sticks and branches were deliberately and intentionally arranged on the bodies. Major Cicero testified that the sticks and branches maybe covered 3% of the girls' bodies. He further testified that there were many leaves and sticks in the area which could have been used to conceal the bodies if that was the intent of the killers. Let me see what you guys are saying. Abby died on the spot. Okay, you mean on the spot. Gibbo is saying Abby died on the spot. The expert said only movement Abby made would have been struggling to breathe. Gibbo says Great of Vali isn't the same. It's pagan, but not Asatru. Okay, well, I'm not an expert, so I don't know. 7, atypical blood pattern. Finally, she testified that there is often an atypical, as in the opposite of typical, not typical, blood patterns identified in ritualistic killings. She identified the blood pattern on Liberty German's face as an atypical blood pattern. This abnormal blood pattern on her face was also identified by Major Cicero. Mr. Allen has a constitutional right, pursuant to the 6th and 14th, to the constitutions, to present evidence describing the area where the bodies were found, the manner in which they were found, and to provide an explanation for said descriptions. He further has the right to prevent evidence flowing therefrom. I wonder if they meant present. Prevent, to stop evidence that the individuals were follower. They mean present, not prevent. Hope they fix that typo, because they're saying he has the right to present the evidence and then present evidence flowing therefrom that the individuals who killed them were followers of Asatru or Odinism, and that the murders were part of a ritualistic sacrifice. That's what they want to do. He has the constitutional right to present that evidence. Can you fix typos after you've submitted them to the court? Then we're going to get to number 2. So number 1 was the ritualistic killings. Okay, and so Snow and Giga. So let me just put it out there right now. Snow and Gibbo disagree on the Feast of Vali. And I don't know, maybe the Great of Vali and the Feast of Vali are 2 different things. I don't know. But you guys have both said what you think. I've read it. That means everybody else has read it. So we know what Snow's side is. We know what Gibbo's side is. So I just want to say you guys have both had your word. It's in there. It's in the chat. It's for all to see. So going forward, I don't think you need to prove either one of you. So I hope that we're going to move on to whatever other topics are in this paper. Yeah. And so Gibbo's last word here, I'm not an expert, was at the hearing that stated this, and Susan Hendricks got it up the other day and showed me no sacrifices or Vinlanders celebrated. Okay. That makes sense, Gibbo. Because I think there's a difference between the Vinlander type Odinist, which is definitely more of a racist skinhead kind of thing, and the people who worship Norse pagan gods through Asatru. They're going to have different practices so people who really practice, and they even said there's different branches, right? I mean, you've kind of got the core thing, but then it filters out to just like Christianity. How many different forms of Christianity are there, right? Same thing with Asatru kind of, but I think that's why they're putting in writing here. They're covering all the bases, because like Patrick Westphal doesn't like to be called Odinist. He prefers to be called Asatru. Johnny Messer, he's going to be Odinist and Vinlander, right? There's differences in those two. Yeah. So then Snow says, I'm an expert in Norse religions, just saying, but it's okay. I'm not arguing, just stating the fact. Exactly. So I think we've kind of got to the core of it here, where Gibbo is probably right that those Vinlanders and Odinists on that side don't celebrate it. And Snow is right that those people with Asatru and kind of a more pure pagan, Norse thing going on do celebrate it. Okay. So we're good on that. Yeah. Several sects and stuff. Yeah. Just like Christianity. And racists are going to infiltrate every group if they can, because they're starved to death for a group identity. This is true. Okay. So now we're going to get into what's the second part? We've got 1 hour so far. Here's our second part. According to the constitutions, they protect Mr. Allen's right to challenge the manner, quality, and thoroughness of the investigation, to inquire about law enforcement's failure to consider third-party suspects, and to present evidence of a biased investigation. Okay, so if they believe that that's the case, they have a constitutional right to present evidence that supports their claim. Mr. Allen has a fundamental right under the Due Process Clause of the Constitutions to call law enforcement officers as witnesses and to cross-examine them on third-party suspects, as the failure to properly investigate or consider third-party suspects undermines the thoroughness of their investigation. Yeah, you get a tunnel vision and you don't look at everybody else. Of course, in this case, they didn't have Richard Allen in their radar in the beginning. But it was very sloppy, a lot of the stuff that they did. The fact, okay, case law, the fact that an investigator may have discounted a viable fact or suspect makes it more probable the investigation was flawed and that Mr. Allen is innocent, thus meeting the requirements of relevancy. Okay, because that was a big thing with Judge Gall and with the prosecution, Nick McClellan, that it has to be relevant, right? Mr. Allen also has a fundamental right to impeach the credibility of and present the bias of any witness, including law enforcement. Quote, a witness's bias, prejudice, or ulterior motives are always relevant at trial in that they may discredit her or affect the weight of her testimony. Case law. It has been well established that law enforcement, like all humans, can suffer from confirmation bias and tunnel vision. In other words, a detective or officer may search for and interpret evidence in a manner that confirms his or her existing beliefs. And they cite something. In this matter, Mr. Allen's evidence is that law enforcement failed to properly investigate third-party suspects and failed to consider alternative theories to their timeline. I agree with that. Their timeline is that 2 to 4, and they didn't want to consider any other timeline. In this case, members of Unified Command failed to follow up on the leads and investigations of Assistant Police Chief Todd Click and Indiana State Police Detective Kevin Murphy, such as the failure to perform an extraction of Brad Holder's phone, the failure to investigate the alibi of Patrick Westphal or Elvis Fields, and the failure to seek warrants to search the homes of those individuals. Unified Command did not consider any fact that did not fall into their timeline that the girls were murdered between 2:14 and 3:30 p.m. on February 13th, 2017. Unified Command failed to investigate why Liberty German's cell suddenly connected to the cell phone tower at 4:33 p.m. a.m., 4:33 a.m. on the 14th after not connecting to the tower from 5:44 p.m. on the 13th. Okay. Indiana State Police Detective Jerry Holman testified that there was no evidence that Richard Allen returned to the location where the bodies were found after 3:30 p.m. Something happened at 4:33 a.m. that caused her cell phone to suddenly connect to the cell phone tower, and it is logical to believe that whatever caused the phone to connect was the result of actions taken by third-party suspects. They got a point there. They got a big point there. Now, who? We don't know. Was it Brad Holder? I don't know. Was it Doug Carter himself? I don't know. Was it Nick McClellan? I don't know. Was it the mayor? I don't know. Was it Kevin Kline, Ron Logan, Elvis Fields? I don't know. Somebody had to turn that phone back on. This evidence goes to the very heart of the thoroughness of the investigation into the deaths of the girls. Mr. Allen's constitutional rights require that this evidence be admitted. Okay, let me see what you guys are saying. Gibbo says Patrick Westphal also stated the Feast of Valenus, modern paganism, not Vinlanders or Asatru. Yeah, okay, yeah. Patrick Westphal is, I think he's hardcore into the Asatru. Not the Vinlanders so much. I think he just went to a couple of meetings or a couple of events that they were at. But I'm not sure he was a member of the Vinlanders. I'm not sure. Gibbo, phone died, then came back on to update iPhones released an update that day and died again. Interesting. I don't have an iPhone. I don't know exactly how they work. And if okay, I'm trying to understand, Gibbo, what you're saying. So if the phone died, as in the battery's dead, Well, the battery didn't suddenly get juice to come back on, right? So it can't be that. And if the phone got wet and then dried out, I'm not buying that either, unless someone can show me something, some kind of science, Mythbusters type experiments or something with it. He has 2 interviews on here talking about his beliefs. Oh yeah, Patrick, I've watched his interviews. Acid Troops celebrate the Feast of Ali. Yeah, okay. Quite frankly, for a while, I was thinking like, if just playing an if it was Brad Holder, then I was thinking, well, he could have been wanting to form his own branch because everyone else was kicking him out of their branch, right? And not letting him join. So maybe he wanted to start his own branch. And in order to start his own branch, he needed to do this sacrifice to empower his little club that he was starting, his little sect that he was starting. That makes sense to me if it was Brad Holder. I'm not saying it was Brad Holder. It could have been someone else. But just playing an if it was, then that would make sense for a motive. Frugal says, all phones have a reserve amount of battery. It can be used for Find My Device and other background tasks. Gibbo says, February 14th, Apple released an update to fix a fault with the model that Libby had, and phones will reboot if dead, but not for the full update. They stated they had to wait for Libby's phone to complete the update. Okay, interesting information, Gibbo. Snow, I'm sorry. I'm operating on 2 hours of sleep over the last 3 days. I've been working very hard at many projects. I have the joy of saying I finished them all. Pain, rotor cuff, torn. Oh, you have a pain from a torn rotor cuff. Life is hard. Yes, it can be. I think, there's something in the energy around the planet that's just like being tired. Well, here, let me. You want to show Piggy? Here comes. Here's a. Hello. It's Chani and Piggy. Piggy. Yeah. Piggy. He's so happy. Oh, Piggy. Okay. All right. That's right, Frugal. There's a tiny bit of battery reserve to prevent bricking the phone should it lose all charge. When that goes away, the phone gets one last chance to alert you that it needs a charge. And Gibbo's clapping with that. Oh, probably clapping at the cat and Chani. Okay. They say hi, Tuesday. And heart emoji and clap emoji. Okay. So let me ask you guys that you guys are talking about if the phone dies. Now, a what if the bridge guy is taking them down the hill. He notices that that she's recording with the phone, and he takes it from her and turns it off. Well, no, because you're saying it still pings until 5:44. Okay, so what if at 5:44 the phone is taken by whoever has the girls and is actually turned off? Okay, we're going a what if thought experiment. All right, this what if thought experiment. They're not laying there dead and the battery just died because they're laying out there cold and they're already dead and the phone's underneath them and it ran out of battery. That's one thought experiment. If they were taken from the area and then later brought back, right? Wherever they are and the phone is on and it's making pings to the same tower, it's within I don't think there's any triangulation with the tower. So it's within the tower's range. And at 5:44, what if somebody actually turns the phone off? So there's still battery in there, but the phone is off. If if it's off and there's still battery, but it's off, the update's not going to turn it on, is it? Or is it? Is the update going to turn it on? Or does somebody have to actually turn it on and then it connects and then the download starts? Because now it's connecting again. Snow says, I thought Bridge Guy was a medium quality Photoshop that they paid someone to do. I didn't think that was a real photo. There are people that believe that. But there's video too. There's video, there's a picture. They only show us a clip of the video. So there are people that think it was doctored. I don't know if it was or not, but I have heard that. Gibbo, with the Odin theory, there is no bridge guy. Oh, this is new to me. Click said they came across the ritual, mocked them, so they unlived them, but the video shows BG kidnapping them. Yes. I've never heard with the Odin theory. I mean, yes, I think I've heard that, like, oh, the girls came across someone making meth. The girls came across a ritual. The girls came across some kind of illegal activity or activity that somebody wanted hidden. They were out hiking. They came across it and were then taken and killed and either ritualistically sacrificed or made to look like one. Right? Yeah, triangulation requires multiple towers. I do not believe there was triangulation in the area. But the phone was dead when found. That's good. That's a good point. I mean, we gotta like work out all this phone stuff, you know, like all we have are what the prosecution is telling us and what the defense is telling us, and we don't have the actual data, right? So I'm saying, oh, the phone stopped pinging at 5:54 because that's what we're told. I haven't seen data. We're saying that it came alive and downloaded 15 text messages at 4 whatever, right? We're told this. I haven't seen the data, right? So I don't know who to believe about all of this, you know. Was the phone dead when they were found? Yeah, I get you're saying it was. I have no idea. No, perhaps it was accidentally turned back on when somebody stuffed it under the girl's body. That's a possibility, right? I mean, there's all these different possibilities. That's one of them. That's one of the possibilities. Snow says, yeah, that tiny little bit of video looks like Disney had their hand in it. Frugal says triangulation can happen through multiple devices. Apple phones recognize other Apple devices in the area and can be triangulated that way. Oh, that's cool. Gibbo, Snow and got Allen's description spot on. Possible, but not plausible. Oh, so many things all the time. Possible and plausible. Correlation versus causation. Oh, lots. Yeah. Gibbo. Frugal, not in that. Gibbo is saying frugal, not in that area as far as the different triangulations. Mr. Steves, and he's a good guy. I like him. He leans towards Richard Allen being guilty, and like whatever the prosecution says, he buys it, but he tests it. He did a test pinging his phone in the area, and he came up in different states and everything because it gives historical pings and not actual pings. So when he did his test, did he contact the company? I guess AT&T owns the cell tower. And did he get a report from AT&T? Like, okay, I want the pings of my phone. How did he get the pings? Or is it just like a speed test thing, like speedtest.com, and you just do something and it tells you where your pings are? I would be interested in that. Like, where did he get his ping data from? I'd be very interested in that because I like Mr. Steve and his wife. They're a cute couple. Snow. Yeah, they're not giving us anywhere near the sort of evidence we would need to make any sort of conclusion about anything related to the guilt or innocence of anyone in this case. Exactly. Snow, I'm just here talking about the Odinism stuff. And to me, that video looked like it was fabricated. So the photo looked really photoshopped. And I don't know, corrupt police, it's easy to get IDs. There's also people that say that the photo of Libby standing on the bridge is also Photoshop. So I don't know. Frugal says, I can't see how an area will cause historical data. That sounds like someone is stretching things. Snow says, that's a very good question, because if you don't get the ping data directly from the sources, you can get conflated pings. There are towers that will ping your phone that are nowhere near where you are. Gibbo says, one tower, wooded area. He was texting his wife. This is Mr. Steve, was texting his wife. He's a cold case investigator and has everything LE has. He actually did this the day of Alan's arrest, which he didn't know. It was unrelated, right? He was just there doing this, and it happened to be the day of his arrest. Got it. Yeah, he's been law enforcement for a long time, and now he's retired and he does cold case investigation. Yeah, he 100%. I like Mr. Steve. He also did a thing using his wife to like drag her like the distance from the creek to the like where they were found, or like some amount of space, to see how hard it would be, because like her weight would have been like around Libby's weight. Abby was thinner, but Libby was a bit heavy, and so he like dragged his wife to. I mean, he's great. And he had these mannequins that he laid like the girls, and then he like, just to see, without any pre-planning, can I find sticks just randomly lying about? Like if I was just trying to cover the bodies, can I find some sticks? Or is it like that's unrealistic? And he found sticks. He found sticks in an appropriate size and shapes and things, and threw them on the mannequins. And it took him like 10 minutes, and it was done. You know, Gibbo. He did poor Mrs. Steves. Yeah. Did a sound test walking towards his wife at different spots and said down the hill. Yeah, he's very good at like making these tests and stuff. All right, let's get back here. What page number are we on? I don't see the page number. 9 of 27. I don't think we're gonna get through all 27. Maybe it's 10, 20. Let's see, how long is number 3? 14. Mm-hmm. It's okay. I'm going to say that I think that right here, number 3 is going to be a good place to stop. The 6th Amendment, okay, the Constitutions protect his right to present evidence that someone else committed the crime. Okay. So that poor woman. I know. I know. We did. Whoops. Remove. So, okay. Can I share my brand new game with you? Yeah. I mean, I can share a link or something. Do I need to go to Discord to get the link? You send me a message on Discord, and then I'll post the link. I'm going to wrap it up though. And I think that we need to do another one. So maybe tomorrow I don't think I have anything planned. It's my Saturday night. I don't have any plans. Tonight was my once a month networking group thing that I go to. So I had to go do that. So let me open up Discord and see. Does it say I'm sharing? No. Okay. Robert, Alicia. Snow Zone, but Alicia. August 8th. Oh, these two little puzzle games you make? Is this the ones? There's one. There's two. There you go. So go check out Snow's new games. And before you leave, I want to remind you, what? Love transcends time and space. So whenever and wherever you're watching me, I love you. I do. I love each and every one of you. I'm so glad you're here. I love that we can talk all different sides of this case. So I really appreciate everybody being in here and giving their points of view, instead of just it's always from this side or it's always from this side. So many people are so divided on this case. And hey, there hasn't been a trial yet. We don't know all the evidence. And we know what the prosecution tells us and we know what the defense tells us. And we have to weigh that as to what we believe. And so right now, in our next show, we will continue looking over what the defense is saying and weigh it. There is one more. Did you just send it to me? Okay, got it. So there you go. There's the next one. So go check out Snow's games. And yeah, I think I'll schedule one for tomorrow night so that we can continue with this. Maybe we'll get through more of it. But it's always great. It's always great to share our own opinions, our own thoughts, our own thing. I noticed this or I noticed that. I learned some things tonight I didn't know. And love hearing it from you guys. All right. So that's it for tonight. Hugs to everybody. Give it a like on your way out. Okay, as soon as I end this, I'm gonna go check out the memory game. All right. So you guys have a good night. Love you. And I will see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel, probably tomorrow. Bye.